Hello, hello.
Hello. Oh, okay. Hi. Thank you for coming to the second session of the forum. My name is Hye Jin Lee, and I am a faculty at Annenberg School of Communication. Great to see so many of you in this room. Shows that a lot of people are interested in K-pop, learning about K-pop. So welcome. And I think this is going to go down as one of the most spectacular opening for an academic forum, I think, in history. So thank you for that, for providing the video for this forum. So thank you, Dom, and thank you, SM Entertainment. All right, so before we begin, we're going to have a conversation about K-pop, a lot of different issues and topics related to K-pop. And then we'll open the floor for you to ask questions. First of all, thank you, Don, for coming here. We've been dying to have a K-pop event. I'm glad that finally we're able to have one. It sucks that it took this long to have one, but it's happening, so this is great. So welcome and thank you. And yeah, so how do you feel being here?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Is this working?
Yeah.
You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Hye Jin, who those should know she's been working extremely hard to bring this to life and realize. So a round of applause to you and your team.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think you're right. It's long overdue. USC is such an amazing educational institution that focuses in so many areas, especially in the world that I come from, of entertainment. So it's amazing to be here. So thank you for having me, the senior administration, the deans, and all the people who worked to put this together. And yeah, I think today we just want to have a real candid conversation, and hopefully it's meaningful for all of you who are participating, and there's some takeaways that you can leave with from this conversation.
All right.
And that's it.
Okay.
That's where we're at. So again, thank you.
All right. Well, before we begin, I want to start by introducing you to Dom Rodriguez, who is here today. I think a lot of you already know who he is, but I think going over a bio is always a good way to start. So let me just read off the bio you sent me. I did have to edit it, but
it's quite long.
It was long, but I edited it down. Your words, but just shortened.
No worries.
All right, so Dom Rodriguez is the Senior Vice President and Head of SM Entertainment's US branch. He has shepherded some of K-pop's biggest stars to the forefront of global conversation and spearheaded music for numerous albums, EPs, and film and TV projects. He's an accomplished A&R, a trusted creative advisor, and a platinum producer and songwriter. During his very first trip to Korea in 2010, he wound up producing The Boys for Girls' Generation. Since then, he has been at SM Entertainment, making songs for artists such as NCT 127, Super M, TVXQ, EXO, SHINee, and more. In 2016, he was asked to run SM Entertainment's US operation. Under his leadership, we have seen SM artists such as EXO, Red Velvet, Super Junior, NCT 127, Super M, and most recently, aespa, becoming a massive success in the US. As a board member of Global Citizen and a member of the Recording Academy, Dom is finding ways to give back and hopes to use his expertise and knowledge in the music business to push culture forward. So again, welcome, Dom. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for that.
All right. So I had the pleasure of reading your extensive bio, and I learned that you played baseball when you were growing up and also music at the same time, but you eventually settled on music. So let's talk about that. How did you get into music and then eventually in the music industry?
You know, like many people, when you're young and you're youthful, you're trying to find your path early on, guided by family, so on and so forth. I had an extreme love for sports, baseball being something that I spent a lot of my life doing early on. Likewise, music. I think music came later, but I came from a household where music was everywhere. And I think my early experiences in life at concerts and things of that nature just kind of opened me up in a way to music where I thought, I love baseball, but music is where my passion is at. So at the early age of, I think, 13, I was blessed enough to be able to have parents that said, fine, you can build a recording studio in the back of our house. And thus became my journey of creating music, and I was lucky enough to have great mentors at a very early age. And that really just carved my path forward to a point where I was 17 and lucky enough to be a part of a platinum selling record. before I graduated from high school. So truly blessed in that essence. But I think, you know, from the age of 15, I was lucky enough to know this is my path in life. And oddly enough, I've been doing this for 20 years because I was able to start so early.
Right.
But that said, those early lessons of team sports and team building and leadership and learning from coaches are essential to the way I lead today. And were real character builders for me.
So you started your career here, right? So it's one thing to be part of the music industry, but it's another to be part of a K-pop industry.
Sure.
Considering that we're a bit older than most of the people in this crowd, I don't think you were listening to K-pop when you were growing up. If you did, kudos to you for seeing the future. But how did you get into K-pop? Because that's a very different territory, although it's like, you know, under the entertainment industry.
Yeah, look, I'll give you the 30,000 feet above part because we'll talk for an hour about that piece alone. But I was, I think in 2010, I was working with some of the greatest production partners I've ever had on the music side. Mr. Teddy Riley, who's a legend in his own right, my partner Richard Garcia and Tony Minter. And we were working on Michael Jackson's posthumous album. So Michael had passed, and it were the final recordings. We were locked down in the studio, I think, for 2 months. And we got a call saying, hey, there's an act here in LA. It's a K-pop act. Are you guys interested? And we thought, why not? We met with the company. We started looking at the genre. We ended up doing some music with that particular company. And then upon that record releasing, and again, this is 2010, we watched the YouTube views, and I think it had like, 4 to 6 million views in the first day, which was pretty significant in 2010.
Right.
Now, 50 million is not enough, but then that was a lot. So in any case, that really triggered kind of the what's happening. So we actually all talked and convinced ourselves that we should take a trip to Seoul, and we should learn. I took a trip to Seoul. I started to learn about K-pop culture, Korean culture, and it hit me in a way where I could have never thought that I would have ended up taking that trip and not left Seoul for 6.5 years after that. I was lucky enough to be able to meet Mr. Chris Lee, who's our current CEO at SM Entertainment during that trip, and have been able to work with him and see his growth and him be there for me in so many different ways throughout this whole period. And yeah, I never looked back. I think I actually remember calling back to my sister saying, hey, do you think you can pack my house up? I'm not coming back to LA. And I don't know if it was foresight, I don't know if it was vision. I think I just knew there was something there that was special. And that moment really clicked for me when I went to Paris and saw the sold out shows that SM did back in that period. Right. And I looked around the crowd and thought, what an amazing experience, from the talent on stage to the engagement of the fans to the diversity of the fan base. And I realized at that point that there was an underlying fever that was going to brew. And so at that point, when I was asked to go back to Korea, I easily was able to say, yes, let's go back. And Seoul changed my life. I was lucky enough to meet my wife, who was there on a trip from North Virginia. Both of my children were born there. So yeah, it's an incredible experience that I've been able to have to date, which is, it's been 12 years now that I've been in this industry. Specifically in K-pop, 10 years before that here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's great, right? K-pop industry keeps on giving. You find your wife, you get your kids. It's a great industry.
It changed my path for sure.
Right. All right.
All for the best, of course.
Right. So I mean, you have experience making music here in Korea, or for K-pop artists. And based on your experience, do you think K-pop's music is really that different from like pop music here, or do you think that's more of a perception? Because if you think about like the songwriters that are credited for K-pop songs, a lot of them are from here,
Sure.
or or based in Europe. They're just all over the world, right?
Sure.
So when that's the case, do you really think the songs made for Western artists are that different from songs that are created for K-pop artists?
Look, I think the process of creation is not very different. It's people sitting in the room going, let's make greatness from zero to something incredible. So the process of creating the song is not very different. What I would say is, and I'll call out my good friend Victor Portillo's here, who heads our A&R, who oversees all of the music process along with a few other people here in the US. It's really the elements that happen after it leaves that room, meaning we take a real hard look at the creation and go, what does this song stand for? What does it mean? What is the visual picture that it paints? Because as I'm sure many of you know, we are very meticulous about the visual detail that comes from the vision that a song breeds for the creators of people who are thinking about the music video and the elements and the look and everything that's going to come into play and the narrative and the story that it's going to tell behind the song. It's always much more than the song.
Right.
So I think the creative process starts here, but by the time it gets to a place where it's released, it goes through a lot of steps and transformations to get to a place where we think we've reached a level where it's what we would consider to be the SM sound, performance worthy, brings the energy that we invoke, the thing that we're known to do, in terms of just bringing something from here and making it the greatest possible version that aligns with our vision as a company and what that's going to mean from a 360 direction, not just simply the music alone for your ears, but what does it say to the eyes? What does it say to the mind? What does it say to the group? Is it on brand? Is the identity there? So there's a lot of ways that you look at it, but the initiation of a song, it is quite the same. It's everything that happens after that makes it special.
Right. The journey that it takes, right?
Absolutely, and that's a great way to say it, because every song does have a true journey.
Right.
I will say one thing that's very encouraging for all creators, songwriters, producers, is there's no real boundary, right? There's not a scenario where we go, you can't do this, you can't do that. That sounds old, that sounds too new, if you have a great record, it's a great record. If we think that it will reach and identify with our audience and it matches our acts, then we pursue it. But there's no boundaries. It's not a copycat game. It's just bring us something that we think's amazing. So yeah, long answer, but it's quite the process.
Right, right.
And I'm giving you kind of 1/10 because a lot of it is so integral that it's a really lengthy process. But it's quite amazing to see a song go from 0 to 100.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been in the industry, you said like more than 12 years now, right? And your first 20 years? I mean, in the K-pop.
K-pop for 12.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes. So in the K-pop industry, you've been in it for 12 years, and I'm sure you've seen it transform significantly over the years. Because when you first started getting into the K-pop business, that was back in 2010 with Girls' Generations, the boys.
Correct.
And I remember like seeing it on the David Letterman show, performing at Kelly Ripa, and that was kind of revolutionary because there were no K-pop acts performing in American mainstream TV shows. So, but then that was back in 2010. Very different media landscape, very different ideas about K-pop, and then now we're here in 2022, where K-pop has transformed in so many different ways. So how does it feel to see K-pop's global success, the massive success that it's enjoying right now from inside the K-pop industry?
Yeah, I think you are right. The growth has really been substantial. What I would say is, and many of you who are studying in this space, you'll come to learn that SM Entertainment and other companies really started to focus in this market around 2007. It was pretty early on, right? Yeah. And I think there was early moments of like BoA on TRL, right? When I came into it, it was another run at like Girls' Generation, The Boys, major record label partner in the US, let's do the media run. But even around that time, like I always say, there was always this underlining fever that was already there. It was already brewing. It just hadn't gotten the commercial spotlight, let's say. And I think that around that time, and even not too long ago, it was hard to get people to really cover it in a meaningful way, and to put it in that spotlight that said, this is a part of the pop culture, the mainstream culture. And we're all going to accept it. Of course, I'm talking about the various gatekeepers across the industry. So to see that change from kind of just a fever to now, you can't turn a corner without seeing it. Everybody's aware of it. You know, when I have my grandmother calling me saying, I think I saw your group on Good Morning America. I'm going, that's right. K-pop has arrived and it's everywhere and everybody knows about it. That said, I do still think we're at the starting point of what's to come. And I'm sure we'll talk about that more in the conversation. But for as massive as it is, the growth is going to be exponential as we move forward. And I think this year alone, I'm starting to see so many more companies and groups focusing in these markets, which is a beautiful thing. But it really speaks to the priority, which is K-pop, and as it relates to the global marketplace. So yeah, again, the growth has been amazing to watch from the inside out, and it truly, truly has changed in a way that I think many wouldn't have thought was possible.
Right. Yeah.
There was many naysayers early on. Now they're picking up the phone.
Right, right. Which, you know, gets us to think about like how K-pop was covered in the Western media in the early days, right? Like when Girls' Generation was trying to promote in the U.S., or going back like 3-4 years ago when BoA was promoting in the U.S. I'm pretty sure the coverage of K-pop by Western media and journalists I mean, we still have some issues today. I'm not saying the issues have been solved, we still see them, but the coverage and the way the stories were written, I'm pretty sure was very, very different back in, you know, the early days when K-pop was starting to become like a global phenomenon. And then today, where you said that journalists are willing to, like they're being more proactive in covering K-pop stories. So do you think there's been a lot of improvement in the way K-pop is being told in the Western media and in journalism? Or do you find some issues that will never, that's kind of hard to deal with? Like, I mean, what do you think?
Like, keeping it completely positive, to go from a place where there was no coverage to going to a place where the most prominent publications in the entertainment industry have dedicated K-pop writers, that tells you the change that has happened. To know that there's writers who are known for writing K-pop, they're well-respected journalists, to know that there's writers who aren't really K-pop writers, right, but just focus on kind of what is the biggest thing that's happening in music covering K-pop acts. It's like, it's such an incredible change in the landscape. And that is because of the hard work of the companies, the artists, and most importantly, the community. And I always refer to the fans as community, right? Because that's what it is. The community moves mountains, the community moves numbers, publications, TV shows. You know, when it all comes down to what's meaningful, yes, we need to put out the journalism that reflects the identity of who we are as a trade. But it's also about, are people actually reading this stuff? Is there actually eyeballs? Is there views? Is it healthy for our business? And knowing that you have that community that's going to show up, I think for them is undeniable, right? Yeah. If I'm running a TV show and I'm booking it and I'm producing it, I care about ratings. And so I want to work with things that are going to move the needle. Unfortunately, the community moves the needle. So yeah, massive change, massive growth. Again, just that point of from barely being able to get coverage all the way to dedicated journalists specific to K-pop, that in itself tells the change.
Yeah, and then like Billboard has like a K-pop section, like a separate section, which was unheard of like 10, 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So things
and
are, yeah.
Speaking about Billboard, now K-pop artists, we run the Billboard charts. We're present.
Yes, yes.
Right? That's something you didn't see in the past, but now you see it.
Yeah, and I think
and again, those are numbers. That's consumption. That doesn't lie. No,
and I did see like news articles about how the top 10 best-selling albums in the U.S. in 2022, 6 of them were K-pop albums. So we are at a very different stage here right now. Like, you know, the artists are not only like appearing on TV shows, but they're able to sell albums to the American audience. And it really shows how far K-pop has come. It's very indicative of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It really is.
But I think this was kind of like discussed a bit in the first session, where there's this perception of K-pop being, manufactured, being product of a factory, and therefore it's inauthentic. That was I think I caught that while I was like running around.
I think I caught that too.
So
I caught that too.
Yeah,
that was a good conversation.
Yeah. So my next question has to do with when people talk about K-pop idols. There are some people who are very hesitant to call them artists, right? But when I look at K-pop artists, the way they move, their synchronized choreography, it takes a lot of time, effort, and dedication to reach that level.
Sure.
It's kind of like, athletes training to become Olympic medalists. So, and for me, that's artistry. So I'm wondering, if you think, whether you think K-pop idols are artists and what makes them artists, and whether it's changing the perception about what it means to be an artist in the States.
First, I'll say K-pop artists, and I can only speak to SM artists because that's who I work with, are the most dedicated, passionate, hardworking music artists I have ever encountered in my 20-year history in the music business. I don't care if you're comparing them to any other superstar from this marketplace. They are so dedicated to their craft that it is incredible to see. And you used the example of a pro athlete. And I identify with that, knowing how much I loved sport as a child. And what it takes to be great at anything we do requires significant commitment, time, passion, moving when you're tired, getting going when you feel like, man, I'm just wiped out. It's that next level that you have to climb to be the best at what you do, whether it's you all as students chasing your passions, whatever that may be. The only way you break that barrier is by excelling beyond. And I see that time and time again with our artists. And the idea that somebody is gonna sit there from a very young age, sometimes 12, 13 years old, and focused wholly on their craft for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to be the best that they can be, what comes out the other side of all of that hard work is incredible artistry. And look, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a prime example. When I go and I look at performances of Western artists versus K-pop artists, I can clearly see the level of detail that goes into the K-pop side. The Western side too, incredible performers, incredible across the board. But K-pop as it stands is when those lights come on and that show begins, it is an experience like nothing else. And that's why, there's a lot of screaming from the beginning to the very end, because it's that type of excitement that happens in the room. When it comes to their ability as far as vocal abilities and dance abilities, and the idea that they have to live and breathe day in and day out, it's like, that is the commitment that you make as an artist. And K-pop versus Western, it's not really that it's a lot different, it's just that those artists are really spending time developing their craft. In America, now it's about a record that's went viral, caught a sound on TikTok, it's going, sign it, work it. For us, it's, there's something special in this person. If they're passionate about it, we're passionate about it. Let's make it the best that it can be and bring them to the world and show them what's possible.
All right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since you've been talking, you're using like SM artists as example. Let's talk about SM a bit, because you started your career at SM Entertainment in the K-pop industry back in 2010. So you've been with SM for now 12 years.
Right.
And SM, I think most of people in this audience would know that SM Entertainment is a name after the founder of SM Company, right? Mr. Lee Soo-man. So that's what SM stands for. And the company was actually created back in 1989 as an SM studio and then changed its name to SM Entertainment in 1995 and brought a lot of like first generation K-pop artists such as H.O.T. and SES, right? And so on and so forth. So it's considered to be like a company that pretty much created the K-pop system, right?
Right.
So what would be a K-pop system and how would SM style music be different from other K-pop music?
Look, I think all the things you said are really what you have to look back at. You have to look at the past 26 years and go, wow, from the beginning till now, you know, what is that process that started? And you mentioned Mr. Soo-man Lee, like a visionary, a leader, you know, forward-thinking, innovative. It was him who had the foresight to go, I think this is the way it should be done. And it was that process, again, of what I spoke about on the earlier question of being able to see that innate special thing in somebody, which is unique, right? To be able to see that and then develop that and grow that and then let it see it come to its full fruit and then to life, to the marketplace. In terms of the differentiators in music and things of that nature, you know, again, the SM process is very, very much something that has developed and grown and improved over time. And how we get to that end result is a very lengthy process, again, that gets you to this place where you can clearly see and hear the difference from us versus anybody else in the world, K-pop or not. And I think that's really the differentiator, right? The differentiator is SM Entertainment has and will continue to be the pioneers in the space. And that, you know, I always say there's nothing that can replace experience, right? I mean, I'm older, some are younger, maybe some are the same age as me in here, I have no idea. But I will say this, there's nothing that can replace the time that you put into something. And when you think about 26 years of time, there's no guesswork as to why it continues to be successful.
Right, yeah. And one of the, like with SM Entertainment, like one of the things that always comes to my mind, like the first image is SM Town. And they just had a concert, right, in Suwon and in Tokyo last month. And the title was 2022 SM Town Live Concert, SM Town Live 2022 SMCU Express at Gwangya for the Suwon concert, and then SMCU Express for Tokyo. And I think SM Town plays a really significant part of the SM brand.
Sure.
So what is SM Town? Because I think a lot of people know, but like, you know, it'd be good to just go over it again because
Look,
I think that's like the core of the...
I think everybody has their version of what it is. I'll give you the Dom version of SM Town. When you say SM Town to me, and I think this is more from like, let me do it from a Western eye. When you look at SM Town, it invokes everything we've been discussing today. It's the artists, it's the community, it's what the brand stands for, it's the narrative, it's the meticulous detail that goes into everything that we do. But when you just look at the word town, all I can think about again is the community. It's just like, it's what we represent and what our fans represent to us, and that thing that makes us one. That is SM Town, in my opinion.
Okay.
I could probably spin it a bunch of different ways, but that's the most simplistic way to put it to everybody, from my point of view. Others may answer it 10 different ways, but that's my view. SM Town is a representation of culture first. It's a representation of the SM movement, and that movement is not one without the other. The artists don't exist without the fandoms don't exist without the artists. The brand identity and what we stand for and the hard work that goes in behind the scenes by the hundreds of people that it requires to actually bring all this to life, it's one living thing, and to me, that is SM Town.
And I don't think you'll be able to see it in any other companies. It's like, you know, bringing all the artists, but the fans of those artists together in one space. And as you said, like creating this massive, big community.
And again, SM Town, you know, the annual concert, which you saw so much even in the earlier video, was that is a representation of every single artist that is still active and going to be on that stage coming together under one roof or an open stadium. And I was fortunate enough to go out to Suwon, and it was an incredible experience. I've seen it in Madison Square Garden. I was there in Chile, Santiago, which was incredible. And so happy to see it return back to live with, you know, thousands and thousands of fans in a stadium in Suwon. Right. It's a special, unique experience as well. We do things there where our artists collaborate in ways you will never see anywhere else in the world. So right. I hope that as we move forward, we'll be able to take it to more places around the world so that people can experience it in the way that I did just, I guess it was a month ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was in August, yeah. And I love how it always ends with the Hope song, you know, which was
the Hope song is amazing. Yeah, it's so incredible to see everybody out there celebrating the success of that night. Right. Actually, I've seen it in Tokyo Dome as well, which was also like amazing. Such an amazing experience. Right. So yeah, but the Hope song. Yeah. I love that.
I mean, because I listened to it at first as HOT song, and then it, you know, became like the theme song for SM Town concert. And I love how they record it every time there's a new concert, you know.
Right, right.
So we get to, it's an old song, but it gets refreshed through new artist involvement, and it's great. It brings everybody together.
It's such a fun moment.
Yeah.
It's really a moment of like unity in that building.
Right. Well, okay, so we covered the SM Town part, right? And then the subtitle of the concert was SMCU Express. So what is SMCU? Because I know there's a lot of confusion. I've read so many articles on SMCU. Everybody has different interpretation. So let's go with the Dom interpretation on this as well. What is SMCU here?
Listen, the SM cultural universe is really is something that we're hyper focused on as it relates to the next level of entertainment and taking the 26 years of history and making sure that everybody can see the connection of the dots of those 26 years. And that's why we're starting with the most recent group, aespa.
Okay.
And it'll work backwards, forwards, in, out, who knows? There's a million ways this is gonna go. But ultimately, it is bringing to life that 26 years for everybody in a way that they've never seen before. And it'll continue to be more immersed inside of that world and bringing all of that storytelling together as one. And you know, effectively, that's what the SMCU is. It's 26 years, it's bridging that together, and then bringing that to a place where it's that next level of an immersive entertainment experience for people, similar to like episode 1 on aespa and episode 2, which are effectively 17 to 20 minute feature films, right, that are really taking you through the storyline. And it kind of brings me to the point of like, that's what's so amazing about K-pop, and especially SM. It's like, it's so much more than meets the eye. If you choose to go down the rabbit hole, good luck finding time for other things, because there is so much that you can take in and consume. And personally, based on my own morals, I just love the message that we send. If you look at the SM identity through the years, you start to understand that the backstories are really stories of, you know, heroism and stories of good versus evil and overcoming those things in your life. And to me, that speaks in a way that I think is really powerful and positive and meaningful. A lot of genres say a lot of things. Nothing says that in the way that we do, which I think is an incredible way to send a positive message to youth and adults alike.
Right. So the positive message is hopeful message, and then like all these layers, you know, that gets fans involved in.
So many layers.
So many layers.
So amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite surprised how little I know compared to the community at times.
Right.
There's certainly moments where I'm like, wow, this community fan site has way more depth.
I mean, yeah, they're like investigators. They know more than the producers, and you know, they're able to create stories that, you know, even the song creators didn't think about. It's just amazing.
I love that, but you know, the beauty of that is like, it's inspiring creativity at different levels, which I think is pretty amazing. you probably in past have heard our company talking a lot about prosumers, right? And what it means when people are taking our content and making their own elevated content, and how do we highlight them and how do we celebrate that? And that's something that I think is amazing, because it means what we're doing is inspiring others to do what they love in their own way, and they're taking it to the public, and we're highlighting that. It really just shows the power of the purpose and passion behind what we're doing. And back to your point, that's the SMCU. That is bringing all of that to life in a meaningful way. And so I'm super excited about what is to come as we see the rest of the year and next year.
Right. Okay, well, in the beginning of we saw this video, before we walked in, and the first scene is we see Mr. Isuman, and then the subtitle is the creator of culture technology.
Sure.
So we have to talk about that. But so you have a group called NCT 127 that's just made a comeback. I'm pretty sure there's N-citizens in this room. Yes, okay. And then NCT Dream had a concert in Seoul. 2 days sold out. Does Mark ever sleep, by the way? I mean, he's like everywhere. But
like I said, the hardest working artist I've ever seen, and show up every single time.
Right. But I mean, your group NCT stands for Neo Culture Technology, and Culture Technology, or CT, has been the operating business model of SM Entertainment.
Sure.
So what does it mean to name a group after your business model, and how does the Neo part kind of like, how does it embody, or how does it add twist to CT?
Hye Jin's getting deep right now.
yeah, I mean, I got to ask these
deep
questions.
right now.
I got to ask these questions.
First, it's important to point out the CT.
Yeah.
And CT is effectively the casting, the training, and the producing process at SM, right? It's what was invented back in '95, and it's what we still do today. That's the process of, let's call it a triangulation of taking something from, wow, that's amazing, to here world, here it is. In terms of NCT, I think you have to understand the identity of the group, right? And for some of you who maybe saw the NCT Mentory, you start to think about the connectivity of what it means. Like, sometimes people are like, wait a second, NCT, and it's like, NCT, that's the umbrella, right? That is the brand that represents the entire group in terms of the multiple members. But as you guys know, there's individual groups within NCT, right? So NCT 127, Dream, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea there is that in the beginning, it was that some of those people who were in the casting training phase could graduate into the NCT rookies, right?
Yeah.
So you're starting to connect CT and NCT at the same time. Then you had the backstory of NCT, which is, well, how could all these members be one? What's the backstory? And I love the idea, if you watch the NCT Mentory, this is all gonna get very complicated, sorry. The idea that they were all connected in a deep state of dream and sleep, right? Where it was like, if you watch it, you literally see like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Now I'm in this state, and I'm able to kind of have an out-of-body experience and connect with all the members everywhere, connect with the community and the fans everywhere. And so that's the big storytelling lure, right? But in the end, it was an opportunity to build an amazing brand where we could bring more and more artists into that fold and give them opportunities to be a part of this. And so I think as we continue to look at the Neo part and the CT part, it's really the storytelling, it's the opportunity for artists that are moving out of CT, and are they ones that should be going into NCT or elsewhere? That's all to be seen. But it's that whole entire process that shapes NCT. The idea that there could be infinite members is pretty amazing. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen all of them on one stage together, but it is quite the experience to see 20 plus people on a stage in unity at one time, just going, it's just amazing.
Yeah. And I'm not going to pretend I remember all their names. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I tried, but it was like after 15, I'm like, I don't know if I can go.
Hey, yeah. But all really, really, really amazing talents, and excited to see more and more of them really grow.
Right.
And
expand.
You talk about CT. You talked about somebody like Mark. He was casted really young.
Right.
A lot of them were, and they've been working many years. So to see them at such an incredible stage of their career has to be truly rewarding for themselves, their loved ones, for the people who have been there with them in the training rooms. I don't pretend to be, that's not where I'm at, but there's people that have been with them from the very beginning. So, you know, how rewarding to see them at that place.
Right. All right. So I guess like we're gonna move from SM to just like music in general and where you think K-pop is going.
Cool.
We know, I think we talked about this. It is massively popular compared to 10 years ago, at a very different level. But you think that this is just the beginning of something more to come,
Sure.
right? So like I guess I'll just like ask, like where do you think K-pop will be in the next 10, 20 years? What do you think will happen with K-pop? There's so many technological developments. In the West, it's mostly been TikTok that's been influencing a lot of song-making process and all that. I don't think that's really happening with K-pop yet, but there's definitely a technological aspect to it. A lot of K-pop companies have invested in metaverse, so I feel like that's gonna also play a role. AI's avatars, and then virtual concerts, right? So
Right.
where do you think K-pop will be in 10 years?
Well, look, I think if we start at the foundations of where we're at today, I would say with extreme confidence, K-pop is now a part of pop culture globally. It's a part of the DNA. It will not be removed. It is a genre that is here to stay. For many who said it would be a trend, sorry.
It's a long-term trend.
It's here. It's a long-term trend. It's here to stay. It's a part of our popular culture in a way that I'm so excited about. And all that means is that the growth is just going to continue. You know, there's that famous saying of, you know, all boats rise with the tide. That's what's happening right now. The tide is there and the boats are all rising. And it's very exciting to see that happening because groups that may not have the same company like an SM are also taking their shot at it. Like, I don't want to use the word saturation quite yet. I just want to say that a lot more people are coming to the marketplace. And what that means is that growth is going to continue to be exponential. There's no way around it. K-pop aside, the entertainment industry is changing before our eyes.
Right.
Some of us see it, some of us don't. Some people still have CDs, not many, but I know a couple people that still listen to CDs. Some people like vinyl. Some of us stream. Some of them discover music on TikTok or Reels or Shorts. There's all kinds of ways that discovery is happening. And in this world of digital connection between us all, it's going to be very exciting to see where we go next. What we, you know, you and the crowd, the future, what does it mean to you all to have real entertainment? What is that immersive experience? I feel like more and more as we move forward, I'm seeing less people just listening to music only. I see them consuming content and music simultaneously. I don't know how immersed it will get, but anytime I'm talking to a company, it's like, how do we do this particular immersive experience with music? How does music connect back to music platforms like Spotify and Apple and Amazon? How do we bridge at the intersection of gaming? What does experiential marketing look like for the future? What does metaverse mean? What does this mean for how all these pieces connect? What are the dots? And honestly, there's tons of people out there trying to solve the riddle. Some will come out on top. I don't know who it will be. But I will tell you that even in my own household, when I see one of my children finding an old record from who knows where and then calling out to Alexa, and I'm going, what is going on? How do you know this song? Oh, I heard it on a rhythm game. Oh, I heard it in Roblox. Oh, I heard it. And I'm just like, wow. The discovery that's happening at youth is a good view of like what's to come. My son's 8, so I don't know what the next 10 years will bring, but I think it's going to be extreme change. And I will say, for what it's worth, the K-pop market tends to be ahead of the rest, especially when it comes to technology and music. And how do those pieces connect? What is that marriage? How are we going to advance it? And in fact, I would go as far as to say the idea that K-pop has always been about all the senses, not just the ears, but the eyes and the ears and the experience, that the meticulous detail to that content is really a perfect bridge to what's next. it's almost like when you go, oh my gosh, that video's got 100 million views on YouTube, it's got 20 million streams on Spotify. Well, guess why? Because it's really exciting to see and hear the music and experience it in that way at one time. And you know, so many of us find ourselves living like this. There's just no way around it. I can't help myself to look around the room at any given time and see people fully engaged in whatever device it is. And they're consuming content with some form of a sound. I don't know what that sound is. It could be a small snip, 7 seconds. It could be a song, but it is really the age that we're living in. So what that looks like in the future is going to be pretty amazing to see. And I can't turn a corner without somebody saying meta to me. Metaverse, 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 metaverse. I'm just like, I was sitting with some family and they were telling me I need to quickly get an Oculus because things are ramping up, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I'm just like, I might love it too much. I don't want to be, I want to have my goggles on all the time. But those things are going to become at a place where everybody can have them, right? And that's going to change how we connect and how we talk to each other, you know. And we think about things like virtual concerts and Beyond Live, which is a company that SM launched. That wasn't born out of the pandemic. That was many years of thinking about how do we reach our audience everywhere, because there's not enough days in a year to go everywhere to tour to be present to all of our fans all over the world. It's literally impossible. So the best thing that we could do is bring it to them virtually, find ways to communicate with them on screens, and then 2 weeks later I see it pop up on the NBA. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like happening everywhere. So I don't know what that looks like, but those of you who watch our company, you know when we do our concerts, we still put them on Beyond Live. And that's to give people the opportunity to still experience it, even if they can't be there present physically.
Right.
So it's things like that that are going to continue to grow. The question is, now can I put my Oculus on and sit in a seat at the show, right? And we're not that far from it. I mean, it's actually doable today.
Right.
It's just who's going to offer it.
Right. And that is the next level, right? That, you know, that we've been talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, look, again, Kpop is a part of the pop fabric and culture moving forward as a whole. There's no question there. It will play a part in all of the movement. And dare I say, from a marketing standpoint, and for all the things that we do and the creativity behind, you know, what Kpop companies, specifically SM Entertainment, do, there's a lot of people here in the US learning from us. I have the opportunity to be the one to interface with all of the various executives at major labels here in the US, and they learn a lot from what we do. Vice versa, we learn a lot from them as well, but we don't come in empty-handed, which shows you there's something quite unique about what Kpop means and stands for, and what it means to have that community of passionate, loyal fans that really a lot of acts don't have. Not anybody can just sell out an arena.
No.
We do, frequently.
So you talked about like how K-pop is like so advanced, like, you know, it's definitely like, you know, ahead of its time. How do you think it's changing or influencing pop music and the global entertainment industry right now?
I think I've said some of it already, but I think some of those points in terms of like looking at marketing techniques, the way that we communicate, the way that the community is mobilized, the way that there's that connection that you don't see, you know, between Western artists and fans. So I think there's a lot of influence from that aspect. From an artistry standpoint, I think there's a lot of influence there in terms of what is K-pop, what does it sound, what does it look like, what is the artistry, what is the intersection of the visualization, what is the development, should we be doing those things again, should we not? So I think it's really the encompassing overall way that K-pop works that is influencing these marketplaces. And having people take a second look at, should we do this, should we do that? Maybe we should make a group. I don't know, can we make a boy group, can we make a girl group? Maybe we could, it's like, there's so many questions that come to me about what that means. Can we transplant the system? Does it work here? Does it not work here? And it's just like, that to me, knowing the conversation happened really just means that people are learning from the space. And it's really 360, right? It's every angle, and it's why I love this conversation and this conference. Is it's like every discipline that happens, even across an institution like this, business affairs and legal. One of our business and legal affairs head is here today, Brandon Tatum, an amazing person. We're talking about all of these things and how it relates to contracts and the future of music business and how does that change. And media, somebody like Christina Santamaria, who heads our media relations here in the US. What does it mean for media and how do we piece those things together? What does it mean for marketing? What does it mean for development? Like if you look at the industry from a 360 angle, there's so many learnings coming from K-pop to this marketplace. So it's pretty incredible.
Right, okay. Well, I asked all my questions, so I'm willing to open the floor because I think a lot of people in the audience would have questions for you.
Are we going to take some questions?
Yeah,
amazing.
So yeah, let's do that.
Part.
So if you have any questions, just raise your hand. I think, or you can, I think, yeah, if you can just come up and just introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Come on, step up,
yeah, don't
step
be shy.
up. Don't be shy.
Just come and, you can ask your questions. So. And there's mic over there too, so it doesn't have to be one line, there's two, yeah.
Hi, my name is Jade.
Hi, Jade.
Hi. As someone who's trying to go into the K-pop industry and maybe work there in the future, and as well as this whole generation of new students that are coming into the industry, do you notice any gaps in the industry, whether it be the gap between Korean and American media or from the past SM to the future SM? What are some gaps that we as the new generation could bridge?
Well, look, you are the future. It's that simple, right? So I think it's important to know the past, the present, to be able to look ahead. In terms of opportunities for people who want to be in the entertainment industry, obviously there's a lot there. When it comes to the K-pop industry, I think that you will see, certainly from us at SM Entertainment, more and more opportunities as the growth continues for people to really be a part of a K-pop entertainment company in these markets, right? Which I think is something that certainly I look forward to. In terms of bridging the gap, I don't think you have to bridge the gap. I think if you're passionate about this space and it's something that you want to do, just grab the bull by the horns and go. Yeah. So anyway, it's again, I think more opportunities will be present, and as I keep working with Hye Jin and the senior administration here, hopefully we'll be able to bring some of those opportunities to the amazing students that are coming out of the programs here.
Awesome. Thank you, Dom.
Of course. Thank you, Jade.
All right, let's take turns because we got two lines going on, so we'll go this side, this side.
Hi, my name is Hye Jin, and I'm a music business student.
Amazing.
Thanks so much for coming. Actually, like a few months ago, I went to Stanford for Mr. Lee Suman's conference there, but I'm not a Stanford student, so I couldn't get in.
Oh.
So thanks so much for Professor Lee to bring you here. Thank you.
Noted.
And as I said, I'm a music industry student, so I really want to work in this K-pop industry. And so I have a question, like, so how exactly SM USA, this branch, works together with the headquarter SM Entertainment together in the aspects of like promotion, production, and also planning tours? And what's the, sorry, it's a long question, like what's the key departments in SM USA? And I know also like some other companies, they have like simply have a partnership with the major labels in USA instead of have their own branches. So what's the advantages of have its own branch in the target market?
Yeah, so very happy and proud to say that we have such a great presence here at SM Entertainment US. We have an incredible team here that covers every area of the entertainment landscape, whether that's marketing and promotions and the various things that fall under that stack, whether it's business teams, business development teams, global ad teams, A&R teams, etc. We have all of those things functioning here today, and we'll continue to grow those areas of business. As it relates to connectivity between, let's call this the U.S. office, and let's call Korea corporate for the sake of this conversation, there's a lot of connectivity between the two. So I think when it comes to, what does that interaction look like in terms of your question around production, planning, promoting, scheduling tours, etc., it's really a whole village of people working together between Korea and the US and with other partners here to put all the pieces together. Like, we frequently work with the Creative Artists Agency, CAA, and we work with them on tour planning and what's the best way to set that up, and leaning on people that are experts in that field for these markets. Likewise, we work with major labels. We have various partnerships with different labels, and every project has its own lane in terms of what it requires. But we're fully independent in the sense of we cover every area by ourselves and capable of doing that. And we use partners where we absolutely need them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Shinji, I think you're up.
Hello, I'm Mendy with Envy Media, a K-pop fan magazine that was actually started around NCT. Having heard about concepts like NCT Hollywood, what can we expect regarding the evolution of SM idols and K-pop idols in the presence of Western media, whether that is in like television or fashion?
Nice to meet you. Envy Media, I've actually heard of you guys. That's amazing. Huge supporters of NCT.
Yeah, I know.
Love
That's
that.
how they started, I think, as a fan.
Yeah, love that.
MB, yeah.
Thank you. As far as what the future looks like for NCT, all I can say is stay tuned.
Well, we know it's going to expand, right? Grow.
Her words.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. But look, we'll see. We'll see. As far as presence in the marketplace, we'll be very present. Very present all the time, everywhere, as much as we can be. And when artists can't come to market, because artists have, they have a lot of places to be. The ever struggling piece of any superstar. How can I be everywhere? Luckily, it's 2022 and we're all connected digitally. And so, we try to operate from this kind of always on, omnipresent, all the time. And that's why we focus so much on putting content out constantly and frequently for everybody. So I hope that answers two parts of your question. I wish I could say more about the first half, but stay tuned.
Okay, all right, thank you. And you are?
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm also in the music industry program, but I'm a master. My question is, I think there's a stereotype that a lot of people think K-pop songs will be like cheesy or, yeah, it's not my theory. I just.
I don't like that. Who says that?
Yeah, I know
Just
there's
kidding.
a stereotype, and a lot of audience will have the expectation that they want their K-pop artists like be like kind of traditional K-pop artists, like their songs is all about catchy. And when you're picking songs for the new albums, will you have this hesitation that should I pick the catchy songs or should I have some like innovations that to change the like K-pop, like that's.
Yeah, I'll do my best to answer it. As a music producer, as somebody who is in love and passionate about music, and as somebody who loves the process of A&R, I think what we encourage and will always encourage is find greatness, make greatness. It doesn't matter about catchy, not catchy, this way, that way, up, down, left, right, ballad, mid-tempo, up-tempo. It matters to create something that, again, I've said it very early on, works well for the artist, meaning it's on brand for them, it hopefully speaks to the masses, and that's something that I constantly say is make music for the masses, because I'm all about growth and reaching more people. And so from that standpoint, I don't think there's a real conversation about how a song should be chosen. Does it have to have a catchy hook? Does it have to have this or that? It's like, if it's a great record, it's a great record. I think quite often people are misunderstood about what K-pop is as a genre. I think I've sat in some rooms where people are like, well, it's all performance, it's all dance, it's like, have you ever listened to the body of a work that happens in an album? Have you listened to the ballads? Have you listened to the mid-tempo records? Have you listened to the multiple genres that span a record? Whether it's electronic, hip-hop, R&B, up the middle pop, organic instruments, synthesizers, various tempos, very complicated arrangements, very simple arrangements. Like there's no real boundary, right? It's just like, if a record feels great and we can get it to its best possible place, that's what we're gonna go with.
All right, thank you. I'm a K-pop fan. I just want to hear your voice.
No, that's okay.
Thank you.
And for those who say that K-pop is cheesy, they should take some time and really consume the body of work in its entirety.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of people just don't want to know about K-pop.
That's okay. The numbers don't lie.
Thank you.
All right, that's your.
Oh, hi. I'm Marvin, and it's such an honor to be asking you a question because SM artists are, SM was the one that introduced me to Kpop, so I'm a huge SM stan.
Thank you. Pink blood.
Yeah, pink blood, exactly. I wanted to ask you, knowing, the first time I heard your name, Dom Rodriguez, I was like, Rodriguez, he must be like a brother, because I'm Mexican, but like Hispanic, Latinx community, you know?
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm Spanish.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I have the most Spanish name ever. Dominic Antonio Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah.
Very Spanish.
I wanted to ask you, what is it, like, obviously you've been in the entertainment industry, in the K-pop entertainment industry for so many years, and I want to know how it's been as okay, I use the term foreigner lightly because, like, I want to work in the Korean entertainment industry. And I was recently speaking with someone from the previous panel, and she told me that thankfully, like, they're slowly opening up, but I really want to know if you have any advice for people who want to get in the industry and how it's been as VP.
Yeah, for me personally, I never felt like I was an outsider. I really didn't. It's something that allowed me to embrace the culture in ways that I never thought possible in the beginning. As a Hispanic, it felt very similar in a lot of ways, right? The respect, the culture, the things we're not here to talk about today, but things that made me passionate about the culture at large. And you know, again, I sit here before you with, you know, children who are half Korean, and my wife is Korean, and you know, so I never felt that I was an outsider. I was embraced right from the beginning. So don't ever feel like you can't be a part of this industry, because you very much can be. There's Victor Portillo up there, Brandon Tatum, Christina Santamaria, Jeremy Lopez, then there's Janie Yu and Emily O and Sean Lee, and it's a real diverse community of people that are a part of the SM fabric. And I couldn't be more happy to say that I think we're the only ones that actually represent everyone. And the same way that we're represented across the people who love what we do as a company. So likewise, those opportunities are there and will be afforded to everyone as we continue our growth. So when those opportunities come, please feel free to submit yourself. And again, don't ever feel like it's not a place where you can belong, because trust me, the diversity and the growth is significant. And it's certainly a big part of my initiative.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Was there a second part? Did I miss the second part of your question?
well, like, how is it being VP for SM USA?
Oh. It's hard work.
Yeah, I really admire.
I constantly use the phrase moving mountains.
And
because,
also, he's working 2 time zones too. You gotta think about that.
Yeah.
Koreatown and LA time.
This isn't unique to me, but when you work in an international field, it requires hours that many others don't have to be present. But when you love what you do, and you find that thing, and you're willing to do that thing for nothing, chase it and don't let go of it.
Yes.
When you get great enough at it, people will pay you for it.
Oh. Message of the day.
Thank you. And I think
Thank
I
you.
speak for everyone that SMUSA, the whole team has been doing amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. The ones that aren't here, I'll let them know.
All right. And you are, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Nandana, but you can call me Nan.
Hey, Nan.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming. This was, like, I can speak on behalf of everyone. We were, like, so excited when I saw, like, SM was coming. And I was actually curious. I'm a business and cinematic arts student. And so it's kind of like the business school and the film school. And I'm especially interested in, like, agency work and representing talent. And one thing that I find that is really interesting is SM Entertainment and most K-pop like entertainment companies, they're both an agency, but then they also like are producing their own music. And how do you balance like representing each unique artist and then also having this like big vision for the company and ensuring that every artist is contributing to the brand as a whole?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I'll give you just comps. In the US, there's a record label, there's a management company, there's an agent. They work together, but they're apart. Management's job is to represent the artist. The label is there to market, promote, A&R, produce the artist. Various versions of how that works. Agencies work in different ways. They're bringing them brand deals. They're bringing them, if they happen to be in the world of acting, maybe they're bringing them opportunities in film and TV. They're helping them with their tours, sponsorships, etc. What I've come to love about SM is when it's a full stack, it allows for everyone to walk across the lines much more easily. For example, the brand team sits over here, management's over here. Hey, guess what? This company's interested. What do you think? Let's have a conversation. Right? So to me, it's a full stack that's fully integrated, and I actually think that it allows for there to be a much more aligned vision for a particular talent. And so that's the comp, right? They're very different, separated, full stack. And I think that this version over here allows for there to be a lot more fluidity in terms of just being aligned in vision and being able to bring those things to life for a particular artist. And as far as your major, obviously cinematic and what it means for, we're talking about K-pop, but there's a lot more K-culture movement beyond K-pop. K-cinema, if you'd like to call that, drama, features, etc., is such an amazing field of growth as well. And so if you're anything like me, I watch K-dramas. They're pretty amazing. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
What your favorite K-drama is?
Oh, no.
Oh.
If you want, it's fine.
You know what? I'll say it only because I watched it twice.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it's a Crash Landing on You.
I was literally thinking that.
I'm like, this is so amazing. And my wife loves it, so I watched it once and I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, we can watch it again. It's cool. Anyway, I love that one.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Right.
You got me. You got me on the K-drama question. I opened myself up.
And Sophia?
Yes, hi, I'm Sophia. I'm a communications major. Thank you so much for being here today. I am a huge SM stan.
Thank you.
So you talked a lot about growth with K-pop globally, and I wanted to ask about SM's integration and history of like incorporating like global international idols, which is something we've been talking a lot about in class with Professor Lee. With like
she's turning things up in that class.
with like NCT as an example, you have Wavy, which incorporates a lot of like Chinese-speaking artists, as well as like again talks of like NCT Hollywood, which is more Western based. What is SM's goal or mindset with recruiting international artists? And how do you feel it has impacted and will continue to impact the reception of your artists in K-pop in terms of international and domestic Korean audience?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Those of you who know SM know we've always done global auditions everywhere. We have people from Chicago, people from Toronto, from Korea, other parts of Asia, China, Thailand, et cetera, right? So there's no real boundary in terms of talent searching. I think it's, if SM's holding an audition and you show up and you have that special thing and we're lucky enough to be able to identify it in that moment, anything's possible. So that's my view of it. In terms of how does it change, not change, globally, locally, et cetera, I think, you know, I'll always maintain the position that whatever it is that we're doing, we'll do it the greatest that it can be, and I think that people will love the experience regardless of what it is.
I definitely enjoy it, regardless of what it is. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Hi, my name's Kyan, like the pepper.
Hi, Kyan.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to meet you and listening to you talk. So my question is, so you've really talked about making music for the masses, and I was wondering, would you say that like NCT is a group that utilizes strategy of like localization, like a mixture of globalization and localization, and how do you analyze feedback from audiences, and how does that shape comebacks?
I love that word, glocalization. There's a guy up there who uses that word a lot. Sorry, lost my train of thought. But yes, I think speaking to the masses is important. We frequently talk about core versus non-core. Core to me is people who are engaged, who love it, who are a part of it, breathing it, passionate about it. Non-core are people who maybe are aware of it, haven't really touched it, scraped the surface maybe a little bit. You know, I'm always constantly thinking about how do we get more people to be a part of this movement. And the word glocalization is very important because it's a way of looking at the world from the eyes of the person in that market, right? It's not like this way, it's more like step into their shoes, look at that market and go, how do we localize for you? What does it mean to speak to this particular marketplace? And I think a group like NCT does embody a lot of that. Absolutely, it speaks to many markets at one time. It has many different members that speak many different languages, which allows them to truly communicate in a way that maybe makes the end listener more comfortable with the conversation. So I think that's a great example in terms of NCT and what they're capable of in terms of their globalized appeal and localizing to the marketplace. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for your question.
Hi, hello. My name is Alice, and I'm a communications major here at Annenberg. I actually had a dream to become a K-pop artist.
Amazing.
It is, yeah, but dance is like the one thing growing up that like truly I could say that I loved and that I felt alive doing it. Obviously, like there's other things that I enjoy doing, but dancing for me was the one thing that I knew I wanted to have in my life for a long time. I faced a lot of pushback from family and friends when I told them about it, which is partially why I'm here. But my question for you is, have you ever experienced any experiences where you're being held back from your dream while you're pursuing this career, or have you personally witnessed anyone who has been struggling with trying to chase like something that they wanted to, and what are your takes on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Not unlike yourself early on, I really loved sports, but I was really passionate about music. My parents were supportive. A lot of my other family was like, you need to stay playing baseball. I don't know about this music thing, but there's not a future there, right? It's just what it was. I would say to those who tell people not to chase their dreams, you should ignore it and stay the course. Likewise, be smart. You're here, you're going to school, you're getting an amazing education. You'll take that forward with you. Plenty of people start one place and end up in another place. Plenty of people stay on one course and end up in that place alone. My view of it is, and I said it earlier to someone, whatever that thing is that you love to do, don't let it go. Be the best that you can be at it, and in your journey of life, you will decide if it is the thing that you do forever, or if you have a change, or is just didn't work out. That's okay too. Doesn't mean you have to stop loving it and doing it and being passionate about it. So I say to you, chase your dreams, stay here, get the amazing education that USC offers, and continue down that journey of what you see yourself doing in life. There's nothing like finding purpose and passion, and I think many of us are constantly searching for that in our lives. And I'm sure as students, you very much find yourself there. Some of you are way further in your education and you know what you're gonna do. Some are very early and still trying to decide where they're gonna go. But that's what this is all about, isn't it? Being here in this institution is about learning and deciding. And if you know what that is in your heart, go for it.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you for your time.
Hi, Dawn. I'm Dana.
Hey, Dana.
Oh my God. Okay, it's just too exciting for me right now. Thanks for coming. It's such a privilege to hear your story and your insights. What I enjoy the most about K-pop is how it evolves from a concept to a song, a choreography, the performance, fashion, styling, all together make a piece of art. I'm a communication major. I also have a fashion design degree. I'm particularly interested in fashion styling. So can you talk a little bit more on how the visual stuff and how styling stuff fits in the whole process?
Yeah, it's K-pop and fashion they sit at the same intersection, right? Like anybody who sees K-pop knows that the stylization, the high fashion, the customization that happens when designing what that particular look's gonna be is quite in depth. Speaking for SM, we literally have a whole department called, I'm gonna try my best here, Visual Styling Department Lab. And the purpose of that particular department is to look at fashion from every angle, past, present, future, look at the embodiment of a mood board of a music video by way of example, or the artwork or the vision for that record, and decide how fashion is going to intersect across all of it. So it's a quite in-depth process that happens when it comes to fashion. And needless to say, when our artists step out, their fashion is, it doesn't matter where it's at, what's going on, it's amazing. So there are tons of stylists that are always there. There are tons of people that are a part of the creative process of looking at what that visualization will be. And it's a very important piece of even the identity from an artist to a brand. Like a perfect example. What is a great high fashion luxury brand for Espa? Givenchy. That makes sense. Yeah. Let's do that, right? And there's multiple layers, but there's the creative conceptual side. What's the identity of that group? And then is there other connectivity amongst brands out there? And what does that look like between those two?
Yeah, it sounds so exciting. Is it possible to follow up with you after this talk? I guess we all kind of want to know. Right?
They all want to.
That's the boss up there in the top left corner. Connect with Christina. But we at SM are very focused on fashion. In fact, we just sponsored one of the most amazing designers who's kind of like the person that's focused on simple fashion, Peter Doe. We sponsored his fashion show at New York Fashion Week. Was it a week ago, I think? And we had a couple of the rookies there. We had Sugi present, and Gino actually opened the show. So we're super focused on fashion and know that it is a very important piece of what we do.
Oh,
as a
just
company.
talking about that, since now you do take a lot of athlete in as artists, right? Is it possible that you will, take, maybe fashion designer in the future as a part of SM in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we already do.
Oh.
So fashion designers, people who are focused on the visual and the creative, people who are focused on just the brand piece, people that are just kind of the whole process, right? We're hyper engaged in it and have been for quite some time. We're just expanding a little further into making sure that K-pop is very present in the conversation of fashion at all times.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
All right. All right. We have more here.
Hello.
Hey.
My name is Calvin.
Hey,
I'm a
Calvin.
music industry major. And then I want to, what's your take on AI and entertainment, like the future of it?
Oh, man.
I can see it being pretty effective and pretty efficient.
Look, I think that AI is going to continue to have growth. I think that technology will continue to grow in its various forms and shapes and formats. We're certainly looking at it very closely, and we always look at technology as a very important piece of being connected to what's next. So I think that it's an area that people should pay attention to. And just the word AI alone, we could probably talk for a long time about that. But I think that it's going to be a very important piece as we move forward into entertainment and how that technology is going to be utilized.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your question.
All right, so we're going to have one more question because we're already over time. So I know.
Are we? It went so fast.
Well, it's 4:06 already. So.
Oh my gosh.
So
we have an
sorry.
event to get to.
So that's why I'm like, you're over time, so I'm sorry. But he's been waiting, so we're going to take one more last question. So.
Hi, my name is Elon. I'm a current grad student at Annenberg. And I also have a background in sports like you do. Also, tremendous honor to meet you today because I grew up watching Girls' Generation. And a few days ago, literally a friend of mine told me that she's still like listening to the boys and still felt it's relevant even in today's media landscape. So my question is, before K-pop has become a thing like over the world, what was the biggest challenge you faced when trying to bring this culture anywhere in the world, especially here in the US?
I think it was and still is in some respects just breaking down that barrier of entry, right? Making people believers. The entertainment industry sometimes feels this large. Actually, when it comes to like really, really breaking down all barriers, it's kind of this small. Kind of like 20 people control everything. So for me, it's always been about how do we make believers of those who can truly open the gates. And I think little by little, us and others have continued to break those barriers down. And little by little, it continues to go. And again, I say that sitting here as an executive at SM Entertainment, but it's not us entirely. It's the community of people that are knocking on people's doors saying, this is coming. Either open the door or we're going to kick it open. And that's what I love that, right? So I think, again, it's just the challenge, again, was, and still is in some respects, is breaking down those barriers of entry and making people believers of what K-pop stands for, making them believers in the music, in the artists, in the movement, and getting them to really adopt the idea, which is not completely unheard of. We've seen it with Latin music, but the idea that an artist who's doing a record in Korean language could be a superstar in the US, for many seemed like, what? How's that possible? I believe that that the landscape is changing in a way where people are now believers. And I think there are more supporters than there ever have been, and we'll continue to fight the good fight and break those barriers that still exist.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so with that question, we will be ending this forum. Thank you so much for coming. Just a quick reminder, there is a concert, there's a performance at McCarthy Class starting at 6. Check-in starts at 5, so please line up, get ready for another fun experience of K-pop. All right,
Amazing.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.